Doctor Who is back with David Tennant, and I had hope. Right up until Twitter started posting clips.
Yes, we know.
We know everything. Thanks.
And you know nothing?
That is the face of a guy who has absolutely had enough of your shit.
It's a shame you're not a woman anymore. Because she'd have understood.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of things in this episode that women understand.
Was on a collision course, but look, at the last minute, it pulls up, then settles.
He was heading for a collision, and then he turned. It's amazing how impressed a woman can be when she works out the mechanics of parking.
That ship didn't crash. It parked.
It's a shame you're not a woman anymore. Because she'd have understood.
But we'll get back to that. The people with 50 IQ haven't stopped talking yet.
We've got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male-presenting Timelord will never understand.
Why would the Doctor give up power? He's strong, masculine, intelligent, and has a duty to do good with it. He literally, without exaggeration, saves the universe from evil. And you're like, oh, why don't you give up that power and so that weaker people can come along and murder everybody? Are you insane, evil, or just stupid? I genuinely don't know.
Just let it go.
And if we choose to let it go.
I said, mate, how lucky am I?
Well, the real question is, if both of them have given up all their power and the husband's so lucky, how come he doesn't have a sandwich yet?
What do I care? Got the best two girls in the world, mate.
I'm the luckiest man in the world. No, the luckiest man in the world would have a sandwich. I'm really lucky. Yeah, well, I'm really lucky and have a sandwich. Checkmate, bigot. Now, for our next character, she's in a wheelchair. That wouldn't normally be a problem right up until Russel Davis decided everyone in a wheelchair is evil.
There's a problem with the Davros of old in that he's a wheelchair user who is evil.
Yeah, you wouldn't normally think that that's a problem. This is a character in a TV show who only represents himself. But to Russel T Davis, they're all the same.
I had problems with that, and a lot of us on the production team had the problems with that, of associating disability with evil.
Quite the admission there. Now, most people would look at somebody and judge them by their own actions, not Davis. Oh no, he's managed to collectivise everyone into a group and gone, yes, evil. But me, I'm a TV producer, and that means I have power, and I haven't given up my power like my own show says I should.
We've got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male-presenting Timelord will never understand.
And that's because, unlike the Doctor, I can help people. I can change the universe by putting one single person who isn't evil in my TV show, and help cure everyone in this group of their immorality, which I seem to have assumed they've all got.
Not you, mate. I've got this. Off you go. Bye-bye.
Waited your whole life?
You wish.
It's always interesting how someone desperately pleading their virtue always showcases their inverse morality, or, to put it more simply, he sounds like a massive twat.
There's a very long tradition of this.
But in this episode, there is a wheelchair user, and she's not evil. Russel T Davis, I know, but in this one single case, he thinks you may possibly be able to just suspend your disbelief and think maybe, just maybe, they're not evil.
And a lot of us on the production team had the problems with that, of associating disability with evil.
He knows it's a stretch for all of us, but he thinks if he tries really hard, he can just about manage it for an hour.
Evening, boys.
Now, let's not think about how somebody in a fixed wheelchair could aim. Just be grateful she's not evil, like the rest of them.
There's a very long tradition of this.
I'm so glad Russel T Davis warned me, because I never knew. I've been in danger my entire life.
You've got weapons in your wheelchair.
We all have.
I'm beginning to think this entire episode is just an elaborate plan from Russel T Davis to warn us. Although I have to say, after seeing their weaponry, I don't think they've thought it through properly.
I don't just fire darts, mate.
Now, of course, if we're going to fight off an evil empire, we need to know Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You sit in a chair and fire a rocket that way, she's going to fire herself backwards down the hall. Best case scenario, she put on the brakes. In which case, it's still going to propel her, except because of the brakes, she's just going to flip backwards onto the floor like a turtle. And I mean, if they put that in the show, I would have wet myself. Unfortunately, we got this instead.
You lot run. I'll fight him off at the lift.
You're gonna fight them off at the lift? What are you gonna do, turn into Tony Hawk and start skating up half pipes to dodge the fire?
Professor Charles Xavier.
You took two people by surprise, but holding off a trained army is an entirely different thing, love. I don't know, maybe Russel T Davis was right.
And a lot of us on the production team had the problems with that, of associating disability with evil.
She's just got a sneaky Machiavellian plan up her sleeve. But it's not all bad. We did have one great character in Meep, the hero.
You are a monster, you stupid woman, with your weird child.
Truly speaking for the audience there, he even had a master plan to save the world.
A dagger drive gets its energy by 5 square miles, the whole of London town, burnt as fuel.
I'm failing to see a downside here. And I mean, look at the entrance he made. Remind you of anything?
Hail
stick it is.
This guy watches Robin Hood. What an absolute boss. He landed in London and started robbing.
We be robbing.
You can't blame Meep, he's just imitating the locals. When in Rome, do what the Romans do.
5 square miles, the whole of London town, burnt as fuel.
The hero we wanted and deserved. Now, there was one really strange scene that Meep had.
I promise I can help him get home and then you'll never see me again.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
Of course he is, love. Have you seen the thing? It's a furry creature with no clothes on. The doctor can see him swinging in the breeze. He's never sat down on a tiled floor because his dangly bits will hit the cold first. The doctor probably knew when he was in the shed outside and he saw him doing the windmill, desperately trying to fly so he can go home.
I want to go home. The Meep is all alone.
Sometimes I think I'm from a different planet.
I think there are many clues from which we can safely assume the alien.
Was on a collision course. It pulls up, then settles. That ship didn't crash. It parked.
That's how you know he's definitely a bloke. He reverse parked. Also, it would be incredibly strange for an alien to get offended by some new human social nuance, which we've had for about 5 minutes. The BBC, you really didn't think this one through, did you? Maybe next time do it on a character that isn't exposing himself to the world. And it did have the single most stupid thing of any Doctor Who I've ever seen, and that includes Jodie's run. That is him making force fields out of thin air with his sonic screwdriver, because somehow sonic waves can create physical static matter that you can then push into place. And at no point do any of the soldiers think, I can move that! It was like the soldiers had been put there in a real-time strategy game and the guy that was controlling them had just forgotten to give them new orders. Just started sitting there and shooting a wall for absolutely no reason whatsoever. But despite the fact that this has got the showrunner and the Doctor back from 2005, we have to remember it's 2023 now, and you know what that means. This show is little more than a delivery system for The Message. And that's not me saying that. That's the BBC's own review of the episode. Now, there's something glorious when their own company will go, yes, this is brainwashing, and we want you to know it. Now, but I have to say, I wasn't too surprised when Russel T Davis is the one that's making it. I had just hoped that he would have enough intelligence left in his tiny little mind to realise that if he wants a successful business, he shouldn't do it for the first 3 Tennant episodes and just bring it in with the next Doctor. Win the fans back, indoctrinate them later. That's a smart thing to do, but then again, this is the BBC. I've never accused them of being smart. No, instead, Russel T Davis has been very open about what he was always going to do. In fact, he was the one that first made me worried that Hollywood would catch on with his actual method, because he was interviewed about his approach to addressing social and political issues in his work. How Davis writes about things that interest and concern him, like the weather. And when he started writing Doctor Who in 2004, he was worried that children were always being told about death and destruction. He didn't want them walking to school thinking, oh my god, I'm going to die. But that was back in 2004. He doesn't care about that now. No, little kiddies, you should be terrified. That's obviously going to create great family entertainment for the BBC, because previously he wrote episodes about humans' resilience, how humans just pick themselves up after disasters and keep going, which is a great message because everyone is going to go through trials and tribulations, and so you don't just want to be told that you're going to give up and die and everything's hopeless. It's no matter what you face, you can get through it and be better because of it. That's why old entertainment used to be entertaining. It had messages and values that resonate with people on a base level, whereas now, be afraid. Be very afraid. There's no coming back from this. Everything should scare you to your core, even being called he. Because it's very interesting coming to Doctor Who in 2022. He wants to provide optimism. He wants to provide hope. But that speech, it seems hopelessly naive now. I can't go forth and give hope and optimism to the kids? Why would family entertainment provide hope and optimism when you can tell everyone they're going to die? That's the message the BBC really wants everyone to know. I think you have to be more detailed, more honest. You've got to talk about it. You've got to tell the little tiny children that we're going to flood. The temperature's going up. Otherwise, you're letting humanity down. When you find out what Davies thinks the episode seems, well, it puts into perspective, really, doesn't it? This is a guy who has become absolutely deranged in his old age, completely unhinged and separated from reality, but the problem is, that's also what all the other people in the BBC think. So he's in his own little hug box of everybody absolutely terrified that the apocalypse is going to happen next Tuesday, and he thinks that it's his duty to make the kids think that as well. Because in 2005, I was trying to care for the audience and look after them. Sounds like he doesn't care about that anymore. But now I can listen to those young viewers. They're passionate. It's their world. We'll be dead and gone. We'll all be buried. And I need to prepare them for the hell they're about to face. I genuinely can't imagine what it's like to go through the world with this attitude. He's acting like 3 horsemen have already walked down the street. But the big thing is where he goes, David pointed out that while he was proud of Years and Years and its message, it didn't attract an audience. There's always the danger of being too worthy or pedantic. He made a show, filled it full of his messaging, and nobody cared. People don't want entertainment to be preached to, but he learned from it. We tried that, and we'll try something else. We keep going. We're trying new things. He's already got another drama planned out. And meanwhile, he won't be shying away from putting messages in Doctor Who. Of course, he'll talk about the weather, but it's one of a long list. So if you thought that this episode was one and done, oh no. You can look forward to a lot of preaching in every other episode he's got, because he's got a list of everything that absolutely petrifies him to his core. And he wants all the kids to think the same. But what got me interested is when he said, yeah, we'll try something else, we'll try new things. He made something, he made a preachy thing, and it failed. So then the next time, we're going to try a different mix between preaching and actually entertaining television. Because unlike all the other hacks, he can make good TV when he wants to. But he also wants to use it to, educate you. After that, it just becomes trial and error of working out what mix people will handle. Is there a way that we can get a load of education into an episode and also get them to accept it because they want to get to the good stuff? Now, in this episode, he front-loaded a lot of the messaging, actually put some entertaining television in the middle, and then hit you in the face with a sledgehammer again at the end.
Yes, we know.
We know everything. Thanks.
And you know nothing.
But to me, that was a problem. Even when there were scenes that I thought were decent, I couldn't enjoy them, because after I'd seen the start, I was always waiting to be hit in the face with a sledgehammer again. It distracted me from the scenes, because I'm like, okay, now what? Everyone won't be the same, but Davis will keep trying throughout all of his different series, or maybe episodes, until he finds out something that works. And when he does, that could just be replicated across all of Hollywood. Well, I mean, it could if they had any talent anyway. Something Hollywood struggles with at the best of times at this point. But what we do know is it hasn't worked on the audience this time. When you try this tactic so bluntly and just in your face, you may have walked into someone's front room and just punched them in the nose. That's why we got 47%. Because you get the people which agree with the sledgehammer. Some people just enjoy having a boot to lick, whereas others think it was a Labour promo video. Awful beyond words. It's dead, nailed to the perch, gone to meet its maker. It's an ex-sci-fi show. Rip Doctor Who. Rip Doctor Who. This has killed it for me, and it's not coming back. I don't care who the actor is. The classic Doctor was right. The End is his 12th incarnation. I don't care anymore for the show or other regenerations. The last time I enjoyed a good story was the Capaldi era, and that is Doctor Who's biggest problem. This isn't a normal TV show where you do it for a few seasons and they're like, okay, I think we've done its run now, it can end, the story's finished. This is a British institution which has lasted decades. It's meant to go on to infinity, and what you've done, you have killed the show so much that people do not care what you do anymore. You can bring it back with other actors, you can bring back showrunners, you can bring back David Tennant, easily one of the most beloved Doctors, many people's favourite, my favourite. But you did it so haphazardly. You filled it with so much evil and bile and hate that you make people have apathy. You've killed it. I'm not coming back. I don't care. The first review may have said that haters are gonna hate, but hate actually requires that you care about something. Hate requires energy and passion. What you've made the audience do is they've given up. And you can see the disconnect between the ever-clapping critics and the audience. Oh, we love the messaging. It was everything we wanted. I want those bigots destroyed. Was it entertaining? I don't know. I was too busy clapping at the virtue. I couldn't hear any of the script. But the interesting thing is if you do click the reviews, oh yeah, the reviews themselves aren't actually shown. There are no reviews to show. Yeah, you can argue that the series isn't finished, so they don't want to put their names to their scores because they might change them later. But in which case, if you're unwilling to show us the review that you wrote, why did you make one? Stand behind your words or don't. If you're all going to tell us how amazing it is, at least be willing to stand by it. But my favourite thing about the entire debacle is how the numbers were spun. This is amazing. It's got 1 million more tuning in than Jodie Whittaker's finale. And that would be amazing if Jodie Whittaker's finale had numbers to write home about in the first place. Over time, Doctor Who's audience base has absolutely plummeted. And then just in this episode, it's gone up 1 million. Sure, 1 million viewers not to be sniffed at, but this had Russel T Davis and David Tennant. You couldn't have gotten bigger names, and only 1 million people came back. The others didn't care. Or if they did care, they were scared away by the clips that you released before the episode, or Russel T Davis's comments, where we found out he changed Davos. He didn't want the audience to think that people in wheelchairs were evil, and then he mocked fans who disagreed. I forgot about that bit, actually. When someone explained to him that Davros wasn't in a wheelchair, he was in a life support system, and said it was bizarre what Davis was doing, he just said, tough. To another guy who asked a legitimate question about the Cybermen, he went, oh, poor baby, crying face. This is a sad old man who talks to people like a child. I know you're writing family entertainment, Russell, but you don't have to act like a child. Isn't it weird how it's all about, I want to show people respect, right up until it comes down to your audience? Respect suddenly goes out the window then. Only have respect for people who think like you and the BBC, which is a weird position to take. It's like siding with the Daleks. You'll only be friends with people who want to destroy the world. And it really is important to the BBC that they try and save Doctor Who. Never before has Doctor Who called in past favourites to restore the show during one of its periodic slumps, or in this case, one of its biggest slumps of all ages. There are flaws, inevitably. Rose's predicament lands clunkily. Maury Gold's music remains blunderingly obvious, a detriment to many scenes. But nostalgia is the phantom limb for what is lost. The desire to return home that no longer exists. Doctor Who represents the best of childhood and its vivid possibilities, curiosity, and guileless idealism. But you don't get that with Russel T Davis anymore, when all he wants to talk about is the oncoming death and destruction of the entire planet. Doctor Who always prospers when it's a show watched by all the family, which is certainly something that wouldn't be happening with this episode. A lot of people would not show this to their kids. I mean, sure, this episode has a bigger budget because of Disney and the BBC, but can you see that money on the screen? No, not really. There might be a few more extras in the battle scenes, but the special effects were unremarkable. This is the BBC's commentary. It's difficult to imagine a fervent fan being anything other than underwhelmed. You can see a twist from galaxies away, and the comedy consists mostly of Donna shouting, what the hell? I mean, if you love Doctor Who, you'll probably enjoy it. That's not true. If you love Doctor Who, it'll make it even worse, because you know what the show could be if Russel Davis could just piss off with the preaching. But if you're indifferent to Who, this episode won't convert you. This special is preachy, and by the end, little more than a delivery system for the message. And he desperately hopes that maybe the third and final special will actually be good, which proves he's even wrote off the second himself. Now, you can try and spin Doctor Who as the biggest drama launch of 2023, but that doesn't work. It's not going to change the numbers. It's not going to get your audience back. And if this episode is the quality that you're hoping will build into a snowball to save Doctor Who, you've got another thing coming. Because you did achieve a surprising victory with this episode. You put the final nail in its coffin, and it's never coming back. I was going to do a full episode review today, but it was such quick fire trash, I realized I didn't have the time, so this is the video for now. If you still like me to do a full episode review after this, let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.